I love winning. I mean, who doesn't?
Winning chess, Mario Kart, an argument, or the last ever workout is pretty amazing, but most importantly, I love winning races. The feeling of crossing the finish line first after a long and hard-fought battle is pretty amazing. That's why I try my hardest to win every single race that I run in. But most of the time, especially in cross country, I don't end up winning. And that's one of the many reasons why I love track, because I can still win my heat without actually winning the whole race. But more on that later, because right now, I have a race that I actually have a pretty good shot at winning. This race is the 19th heat of 34 at the Carolina Distance Carnival, an absolutely massive meet with over 700 people entered in the mile, which is the event I'm also in. Thankfully, my heat only has 22 people in it, which gives me a good chance at winning. However, there are 3 main challenges in my way. Challenge number 1 is that I have a stacked heat, as there are 21 other guys all entered within 1 second of my PR. Challenge number 2 is that my throat is cooked since I'm sick, and challenge number 3 is that it's really hot and humid. But those are problems for future meet, as right now I just need to get to the meet. Let's go to North Carolina.
Yes, the audio on some of these clips is pretty bad since I kept covering the microphones, but basically I'm just telling you that we're currently on a midway shakeout run. Normally I'd be excited to go race at a race like this, but since my throat felt like sandpaper covered in a slimy goo, I was nervous that I was about to sell the bag pretty hard. Even on camera you can hear how bad my breathing was. But as bad as it sounded, it hurt worse. Every breath made my lungs and throat feel like they were on fire, and I was crazy congested. Thankfully, by the end of the run, I was feeling slightly better, but I was still gonna need a miracle if I wanted to win my heat. After a little stop, we continued driving until we arrived at the meet.
Oh yeah, we're at the meet. My voice has progressively gotten worse. So, there's only 2.5 hours till I race, and then Cabral doesn't race till like 9, so we got a while.
From the clip, you can tell that I am now future me, as Challenge 2 has arrived. But I don't film anything else to the warm-up, and sadly when I was recording these clips I kept covering the microphones. You just get a shot of me looking gassed running 7:45 pace on the warm-up. However, I unintentionally uncovered the microphone just long enough to say,
it's kinda warm out.
And yes, this does mean that challenge number 3 has officially arrived, as it is hot and humid.
Alright guys, I'm about to do stretch season striders, so anyways, so see you guys afterwards.
Now it's lock-in time, as we are lined up ready to go. As soon as the gun went off, I went straight to the back, and you might be thinking to yourselves, Caleb, you already sold the clip? Well, my friends, this is not the case, because I have something called the race plan. Because I wasn't feeling the greatest, and because of how stacked the race was, the goal for the first and second laps was to stay near the back, so that way I didn't go out too fast and box myself in. The third lap, I move up a bunch, and the last lap is whatever I have left. The time goal is just a PR, but we'll have to see. Now when we go back to the race, you can see that I'm doing precisely that, as I'm at the very back of the pack. And actually right here, you can see that I get cut off and end up in dead last for a second. However, I keep my cool and see that we come through 200 meters way too slow in a 36.5, which is not good, and so the race plan has to immediately be changed. I have to move up a bunch of places, essentially meaning that the third lap becomes the second lap, and my plan to sit at the back is no good. However, I still decide to sit at the back for a little bit longer and wait for the second lap to start passing people. As I finish the first lap in a 1:12, I swing wide and start moving past loads of people. Also, even though it might seem like that first lap was way too slow, it's because it was the 409 meter split, not the 400 meter split, since we were racing the full mile and not the 1600. My 400 split was something like 110, which puts me on pace for like 440, so I'm actually on pace. As you can see from this clip, I was actually in lane 3 trying to pass most of these people, which seems like a waste of energy, but it's actually worth it in order to get a good position. Right here, I began to realize just how much work I had cut out for me, but I still kept pushing on.
I also surprisingly got into the same heat as my friend Bryce, who has been ahead of me this entire race so far. You see it at 444 going through this race, just like me and everyone else in my heat. 444 was my PR, and before I got sick, I was planning on trying to go sub 440, which means I would have to be averaging 110 per lap, but now the goal was just a PR.
I continued to move up throughout the entire next 100 meters or so before finding a good place to settle in for the time being. Also, the atmosphere was just insane for this entire meet. Like, they had epic songs playing the whole time and lots of people cheering. The track had also been resurfaced somewhat recently, so it felt amazing to run on.
Also, by this point, I moved up from dead last to about 6th or 7th place, and me and the rest of the field were trying to chase down the leader.
I came through in 2:22 through 809 meters and moved from 12 places, so if I could just keep it together, I was on track to run a fast time. The last lap was also a 110, so I just about kept pace. By this point in the race, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that my throat didn't hurt badly, and in fact, I barely noticed it. However, my legs were starting to feel it, but I only had 700 meters left and I wasn't in a good rhythm, so if I stayed strong, I'd probably make it to the finish.
Also, by this point, I found myself in 5th position, so for the first time in the race, I found myself in a position where I actually could win this thing. As soon as I realized that, I put in a small surge and passed my friend Bryce and got into 3rd place. And I kept pushing, and right before 600 meters left, I moved up into 2nd, and the chase was on. With just under 600 meters left and still about a 20-meter gap between me and the leader, I knew it was going to be close. Thankfully, because of how hyped the crowd and the atmosphere was, I was able to keep my 2nd place spot and actually start to try and make a small gap appear between me and the rest of the chase pack. Also at this point, my friends in the bleachers were starting to go crazy for me and Bryce. With 450 meters left, I was in crazy amounts of pain, but I knew that as long as I kicked, I could definitely get the leader. He was definitely within range. So I started to pull away from Bryce and the rest of the lead pack. He came through in 3:30, and I came through in 3:32, but I was starting to make up the gap pretty quickly, and as you can see, I'm starting to turn it up pretty fast. Thankfully, since that last lap had sped up to a 109, I had momentum on my side, and I used that to reel him in even faster. So far in my high school career, I haven't won anything individually, and so I noticed if I could close hard that I had a chance to change that. Right here I noticed that the gap was closing quickly between me and the leader, but with only 300 meters left and the whole field trying to chase us down, I knew I had to pick it up.
Let's go, Kayla!
With all my friends in the bleachers cheering me on, I continued to push, and then I pulled up on his shoulder, but I knew that I couldn't sit there, so I immediately passed him. As soon as I did that, my friends threw a shameless plug to my channel.
I watched him on YouTube! Unsubscribe!
And if you also want to support me, you can click that little button down there that says subscribe, so that way you never miss any super hype races just like this one. Now as soon as I passed this guy, I continued kicking with whatever I had left in my legs, and as soon as I rounded the last turn, my brother got this super epic shot of me destroying the field.
Here comes our leader with a battle for second.
Now, they were playing some copyrighted music, so hopefully I don't get copyrighted, but regardless, I still threw down a well-deserved email at the line and broke 440 with the final time of 439.43.
440 barrier with a 439.43, and that was Caleb Cooper.
I'm still super happy with this performance, and I seriously thought I was going to get rolled, but I guess not. Also, I got a bag full of stuff after I won, which is crazy since I won the 19th heat of 34, so. Also, Bryce got 13th in my heat with the 448.
I finished, guys. I feel pretty good, pretty happy with that. Yeah, we'll do that. Right now I'm cooling down with Logan, or about to anyway. Feeling pretty cooked, low-key. But later we're gonna go watch Josh race.
So after cooling down, we just hung out and watched our own race, and while watching these races, I was feeling pretty happy thinking about my own race. I thought of how amazing it felt to win, and I felt like I was on a running high. However, even though I'm super happy that I ran a great race and that I won, it wasn't as amazing as it seemed at the time. A couple of days later, I had completely forgotten about it since there are more important things in life than winning. The phrase, a bad race isn't as bad as it seems, and a good race isn't as good as it seems, perfectly sums this up. And I hope that you guys will remember this when you run a good race or a bad race. Don't be too hard on yourself when you run poorly, and don't forget who you are and what's important when you run amazing. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. And remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. See you in the next one.
Hey guys, welcome back. God, who am I? Oh, this is definitely illegal. Oh, wow.
You just want to go like out and then back, like just go across the bridge.
Whoa, I cannot handle going across that bridge again. I'll probably die if I do.
Seth Truitt, Josh Cooper, Owen Trainum, Dean Sunderland.
That's my brother.
Ryan Walensky, Nick
Owen T, we know you, and we will.